Hello and welcome to helpyourmath.com. In this video, we are going to talk about the fundamentals of statistics. This video does go over a lot of definitions, so bear with me. First, let's talk about the two generally accepted definitions of statistics. In these cases, in one case, we consider statistics to be singular, and that is the science of collecting, organizing, and interpreting data. And in the other case, the other definition, we consider it to be plural. And that's when we use statistics as the data that describe or summarize something. So you can use either the singular or the plural. If it doesn't really make sense to you, that's okay. When I looked online, it looks like it doesn't make sense to most people. So you're in good company. Okay, so how statistics work, or is it how statistics works? Who knows? All right, statistical studies are conducted in different ways and for many different reasons, but they all share some basic characteristics. One example that we're going to focus on in this video are the Nielsen ratings. The Nielsen ratings are used to estimate the numbers of people watching various television shows. So when you hear that 40 million people tuned in to the Super Bowl, we don't actually know that 40 million people, they didn't look in and peek in the window to see who's really watching it. They do this based on statistics. So the Nielsen rating helps us determine which shows were the most popular in a given week. We're going to use a hypothetical where the Nielsen rating says that The Big Bang Theory was last week's most watched show with 22 million viewers. How do they make this claim? And again, it's not because they're peeking in the windows and have a little tick box yep, Big Bang Theory, check. That's not what they do. They base it only off 5,000 homes. So the US has a lot of homes. There's, 400 million people. There's probably 300 million homes, maybe slightly fewer than that. And they base all of this information off of 5,000 homes. So they are projecting what 5,000 households do and just use it to describe the entire American population. Okay, so the goal of the Nielsen ratings was to estimate what the entire population of Americans are watching. Americans, there we go. The number of people watching each show is called the population parameters. So we could have a subset of those watching The Big Bang Theory, a subset of those watching American Idol. I think that's still on the air, although Big Bang Theory is not. So we could have these different subsets. Those would be the population parameters. Nielsen projects claims about the population based on a sample of Americans. And remember, that sample was 5,000 households. When Nielsen collects the sample, it's called the raw data. When Nielsen interprets these data and makes characterizations, such as the percentage of teenagers watching The Big Bang Theory, or the percentage of suburban homes, etc., those are called the sample statistics. Let's review these key terms one more time. The population in a statistical study is the complete set of people or things being studied. In the example of the Nielsen rating, that would be trying to describe what all Americans were watching. The sample is the subset of the population from which the raw data are actually obtained. So the sample would be the 5,000 households that Nielsen actually studies. Population parameters are specific numbers describing the characteristics of the population. So when they say 22 million people viewed The Big Bang Theory one night or last week, that would be the population parameters. And the sample statistics are numbers describing characteristics of the sample, found by consolidating or summarizing the raw data collected from the sample. So that would be the percent of teenagers who watched The Big Bang Theory, or the percent of suburban households that watched The Big Bang Theory. That would be the sample statistics. Let's look at two examples where you're going to read a little blurb and have to define these four terms based on that blurb. Agricultural inspectors for Jefferson County measure the levels of residue from 3 common pesticides on 25 ears of corn from each of the 104 corn-producing farms in the county. Okay, so first, what is the population? What are they doing? What are they trying to describe as a whole? Well, they're trying to describe all of the corn in the county. So the population will be all ears of corn grown in Jefferson County. What's the sample in this case? So what's the sample? It's the 25 ears of corn from each of the farms in the county. The 25 ears of corn are what they used to project what was happening with the entire population of ears of corn. What is the population parameters? Well, the population parameters, what were they looking for? They were trying to measure the levels of residue of the 3 common pesticides. So they're trying to describe that for all of the corn grown in Jefferson County. The average level of residue from the 3 pesticides on all corn grown in the county. And lastly, what was the sample statistics? Well, that would be the residue from those 25 ears of corn each. That would be the average levels of residue that are actually measured in the sample. Let's look at one more example. Anthropologists determined the average brain size or skull size of early Neanderthals in Europe by studying skulls found at 3 sites in southern Europe. So first, what is the population? Well, the population will be all early Neanderthals in Europe. What is the sample? The sample is going to be the Neanderthals that they found at the 3 sites. So the individual Neanderthal skulls found at the 3 sites. What is the population parameters? Well, that would be them trying to project what is the brain size of all early Neanderthals. And this should say all early. We're just going to add early in there, all early Neanderthals. And lastly, what is the sample statistic? Well, that would be the average brain size of those that they used in the sample. So the average brain size of the individuals in the sample. These have been the definitions and descriptions of population, sample, population parameters, and sample statistics. Thank you for stopping by.